Hi, I'm Lenny Magill with GlockStore and AR-15 Store, and today we're going to talk about the installation procedure of the AR-15 reset trigger. Now, this device will allow you to take your dry fire practice to the next level, and I mean that in a big way. Let me elaborate. When you want to become proficient with any firearm, whether it be a handgun or a rifle, you've got to spend time with it so that you are comfortable and basically natural in the mounting of the weapon, the pointing of the weapon, and the alignment of the sights. It all has to happen naturally, especially when you're doing the kind of shooting that I like to do, which is close quarter combat, multiple targets, moving while you're shooting. You know, it's one thing to sit there and, be in a prone position and line up the sights and have the gun rested on a mount or something like that, or on the ground. It's another thing when you're actually manually taking the gun and moving through a series of targets and mounting and shooting quickly, snap shooting, targets that are anywhere from 20 to 50 to 100 yards. Certainly a different experience. And to become proficient at that kind of skill, you need to spend time with the rifle, and you need to do it in the dry fire mode without any ammunition, because the goal is to be able to align the sights instantly as the gun is mounted to your body. And really, you can do that without ammunition. You can do it more efficiently without ammunition in a dry fire mode. One of the challenges with regular dry fire is that you go through the process, you mount the weapon, you align the sights, you squeeze the trigger, and you don't see any noticeable results. Did it actually work? Are the sights aligned? It looked like they were aligned. I saw the sights when the trigger squeezed, but you really still don't know. So we've developed a reset trigger that allows you to squeeze the trigger multiple times without cycling the action, as well as every time you pull the trigger, it throws out a laser pulse that will, in fact, show you the tangible results of what actually occurred when you shot the shot, where the shots or the sights were lined up when you actually shot the shot. So you know that your techniques that you're developing here are actually working. And these skills that you develop in a dry fire arena here with this reset trigger will translate themselves out to the range. And I've got other videos to show you the dry fire practice that we go through here. But let's go ahead through the assembly or installation process of the reset trigger into an AR-15 or M4, as this is right here. First and foremost, of course, we want to make sure the gun is in fact unloaded. Obviously, I've already dropped the magazine. And now I want to go ahead and pull the bolt carrier back here and actually the charging handle, look inside, make sure there are no rounds stuck in the chamber, and then release and squeeze the trigger in a safe direction. Now, this process can take you 2 or 3 minutes. It's really not that hard. Obviously, I'm going to talk you through it, so it may take a little bit longer, but once you become proficient in it, once you understand what's going on, it's very simple. We're going to go ahead and break the gun down and remove the upper from the lower, and that's done with the 2 takedown or breakdown pins, which are right here on the back. There's pin number 1, and now on the front is pin number 2, and so I'll just go ahead and pull that out as well. And like I said, you don't have to do all this. I like to just take it apart so I can have more to work with, okay? So there's the receiver or lower of the AR-15 M4. What we're going to do is remove the hammer and replace it with the trigger block that we have assembled, or the hammer block, I guess you could call it. This device, every time you squeeze the trigger, you're getting here close, you'll see there's spring activated. It'll actually collapse itself and actually activate the laser, just like that, all right? So, first things first, let's go ahead and I'll put this aside. I want to go ahead and remove the hammer by removing the hammer pin, all right? And it's very simple. The hammer pin is the pin that is to the front of the trigger, or the trigger pin. There's 2 pins here. The one right above the trigger is the trigger pin. Up here is the hammer pin, and of course there's the hammer, all right? So it makes sense. That pin is capturing the hammer inside. Whenever I remove a pin or a part, I always want to make sure that I'm aware of the orientation when it comes out. So I'll go ahead and I'll put this down like so, with a little bit of space underneath there. Take my punch and hammer. I'm going to line this guy up and just tap that pin straight out. And sometimes they come out easy, sometimes they are hard. I've already taken this one out a couple times, so it's going to be fairly easy, I believe. There we go. And Now, before I take it all the way out, I want to leave the pin in there. I want you to notice here that there are 2 notches in this pin. You can see them right here. One notch is at the end, the other one's more towards the middle. It's important that you understand that that notch is on the right side from the shooter's perspective of the pin. So let's keep it there when you reassemble it, okay? Because there's not a corresponding notch on the other side. So let's see if I can just pull that pin out now, and there it is. And you'll notice there's the pin. Like I said, there's the middle notch, there's the end notch. There is no notch on the left side of the pin, so there's really just 2 notches. And when I put it back in, I want to make sure that that notch is on the right side from the shooter's perspective. So I'll put the pin aside. Now I've got my punch capturing the hammer, so I'll pull that out. I just want to make sure that thing doesn't fly away, and pull that out there, okay? And now, again, notice the spring and the orientation of the spring. I'll leave that here so you can see. So this is how it came out. And the springs actually go back this way into the receiver. So when I reassemble that, that's how I want those springs to go. So again, the legs of the spring, right here, go back right in there. And that's what gives it its spring pressure. Like, they can't go front, all right? And you can't put it backwards because that would not be right. It has to go here with this little notch that's going to grab the trigger. This little sear is what that is right there, okay? So that's how they go, just so you know when you want to put that back together. All right. So I'll put the hammer aside, put the hammer pin aside, and now we're going to install the reset trigger block. So you'll notice this little hook that's associated with the hammer, excuse me, with the trigger, okay? That's what's actually, that motion right there is basically the trigger motion that you get when you actually shoot the gun. That motion is the same motion that's going to activate our laser. Because of that, you have a realistic trigger pull. And again, like I said earlier, every time I pull the trigger, because of the way this block is designed, I'm going to get an actual laser pulse. So I'll demonstrate that one time here for you once again before I put it in. So here's the actual block, and it sits in the gun like so. This is the rear. Okay. So when I pull the trigger, I actually will compress this. Let's see if I can get it right there like that. And you see the laser go off, right? Good. So that's what we're attempting to do. So now, with that in mind, I'm going to go ahead and orientate. And you'll notice there's a hole here for the hammer pin as well. So I'm going to orientate the block into the lower receiver. And the only thing you have to be concerned about here, well, I guess 2 things. One is we want to make sure that you get it situated first before you do anything. Be careful not to pull on the wires because they're attached to a circuit board right there that may, be pulled out. So just be very careful of that. Once you start to work this thing down, you'll notice that it's going to probably catch itself on the trigger itself. So what we have to do is we've got to compress this to get it behind the actual trigger hook. All right, and so all I do is I just pushed it in so it would actually fit. And then I'm going to push it all the way down. And now I'm going to go ahead and just make sure the holes line up, which it looks like they do. And then I'm going to take my pin back and put it in here so it captures that block. So the block doesn't move too much. It doesn't move at all, as a matter of fact. Okay, so there it is installed. Now, before I actually put it in the gun again, let me go ahead now. I'll just work the trigger. And we'll see that we actually have, with every pull of the trigger, a laser pulse. And let me make sure you can see that. So as fast as I can pull the trigger, you're going to get a laser pulse. And that's the objective, because we want to learn how to work this trigger fast, and that's the practice we're looking for. We're looking to be able to do multiple shots quickly, 2-2 or 3-3 on each target. 1-2-3, 1-2-3, 1-2-3. And with practice, again, dry fire practice, you can shoot those 9 shots in 3 seconds very easily. All right. Now, so I've got it basically together. Now let me go ahead and before I do anything, I'm just going to drop this into the magazine well so it kind of gets out of the way. Get that wire out of the way. I'm going to go ahead and put the upper on the top here. Before I do that, though, I want to remove the bolt. Okay, and the bolt assembly here. And so I'm going to pull this back just a little bit and let it drop out like so. So I'll just put that off the side. So those two items stay out. Now I can also remove the charging handle too. All right, there's no need to keep it in. You can keep it in if you want, but you want to be aware of you don't want to activate it when you have the wires in there because this may grab hold of the wires, and that may cause damage to it. So I'm going to go ahead and just leave it out for this purpose because there's no need to have it because I'm not going to be using it and I don't want to be tempted to use it. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and now reassemble the gun, put the front back on. There we go. Come on, baby. Okay, and now before I close it down, I'm going to go ahead and take the bullet and actually put it into the chamber. So that's fairly easy. And just put it in there so it's solid. So that's basically the apparatus as it looks before I close it up. The only thing I want to be concerned of here is that I want to make sure this wire doesn't get pinched as I close it up. So I can just see the wire itself close itself into there. And there we go. And I'll close the back pin, and that's basically it. Now I can keep the dust cover open if I want, or I can close that. Either way, I can always, again, look inside there. Now what's cool about this thing is every time I pull the trigger, as I see a laser pulse. So I'll show you here on my hand. And now what's really cool about this thing is now I can practice my dry fire, mount the gun, access the sights, whether it be the iron sights, or excuse me, the fixed sights, or the red dot EOTech that I've got here. And not only train my eye to be faster with the sights, but also train my finger, and I can work the safety, because with the safety, it doesn't work. So I've got to learn how to manipulate the safety off for the full trigger pull, safety back on. All right, that's all with your thumb, and trying to do that on a repeated basis and on a command. So you want to be working with safe, off, back on, and going through different drills that way. And you'll see in our other videos, I've got targets that will allow you to set up around the room and to hook a timer up to, and to be able to actually activate so that you can beep the target, beep the target, beep the target, and time yourself and start to try different techniques to see which technique is better, which is faster, which is more accurate, and which gives you the most repeatability, most consistency, which is very important in shooting. Doesn't really matter how you do it, as long as you can do it on command. And that's the neat thing about shooting. Yes, there are certain techniques and basic techniques, but every person can shoot a little differently or hold the gun a little differently as long as they can do it on command when they want to and do it in a fast manner. And that's what this dry fire practice is all about. It allows you to take the time without spending a lot of money and ammo, but also to learn more about the gun, about how you hold the gun, about how you see the sights, about how you manipulate the trigger and the safety, to learn more, because you can do more of that and you can do it at home without the worry of live fire and ammunition and spending money on ammunition. So that's really the key, is that you're going to learn a lot about yourself by dry firing and using this laser, because you're going to be able to see where the shots are going, and you're going to be able to start to place them exactly where you want them to be. So, hope you've learned something about this reset trigger. It is a phenomenal training device. I use it, all the guys in the office use it here, and we've seen amazing results. I'm Lenny Magill. Thanks for watching. Good luck, and I'll see you next time.